may have seen this room a million times by now. I've been posting these setups since 2019, and I've pretty much posted like at least 3 per year as things change around in here. But I recently went back to a minimal desk setup, so I felt like it was time to make a new video about it, not only because of the small changes that I made, but also the fact that this is going to be my very last home office setup tour video in this space. Let's get right into it and I will show you around the place. So for basically the entire year of 2023, I had moved my desk under my TV and I was using my LG OLED 48-inch TV as a monitor and as my main setup. Having that TV wasn't terrible, but at the same time, I always feel like I need to go back to something more basic whenever I build things up too big. Again, if you've seen this channel before, you know sometimes my setups get out of hand. So I moved my desk from the wall where the TV is at back over to where the window is, and I think how the room is laid out, it just fits the best there. So let me go through the desk setup and break down everything that's on it. This is a Flexispot E7B 71 by 35 inch deep standing desk. I got this in January of 2023, and at the time it was perfect because I had this gigantic triple monitor setup and I needed more space. The desk itself is rated to hold up to 355 pounds. The quality overall is pretty solid, except for the desktop does get a little dinged and scratched pretty easily, so I already have a couple scuffs that, just from accidentally dropping things on it. This desk is massive and it was perfect whenever I had my huge 3-monitor setup, but now that I've moved to a single monitor setup, I feel like I'm going to probably downsize in the future, not because I don't like the desk, but it just isn't really fitting for the plans that I have for this setup. When I decided to go back to a simple setup, I decided to go with a new monitor. In the past, I've used an LG Ultrafine 4K monitor and I've used the BenQ monitors, both amazing monitors, and when it came down to deciding what I was going to move to, I found this LG Ultrafine Nano IPS monitor that was on sale during the holidays. For the most part, it's the standard LG Ultrafine monitor that has been in rotation for years, but there's a pretty noticeable update to this panel which made it worth it for me. One being the fact that it's a Nano IPS display, so it's a 2000:1 contrast ratio versus the 1000:1 contrast ratio that all of the previous Ultrafine monitors are. And what that means is you get deeper blacks and a more vivid color. Now this doesn't mean that it's going to look as good as like an OLED monitor that has a 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio, but it is double the contrast ratio from the other Ultrafine displays, and you can tell that it's an updated panel. And by the way, since I know you're going to ask, you can download this wallpaper. I'll put a link in the description. Check it out. It also has more color profiles than the previous Ultrafine monitor, and it has hardware calibration and a calibration software that you can use with the Spider X calibrator. It's a great tool to have if you're doing any sort of video or photo work or graphic design, anything that requires a calibrated monitor. I'm planning on doing a full review of this monitor. I just want to give it a little more time and get some more use with it before I put something like that out. Since I was going back down to a single monitor setup, I decided to use the Ergo arm from my dual-up monitor that I've had for a few years, and I put this Ultrafine monitor on that, and the way it pivots and moves makes adjusting the monitor very simple. The monitor is connected to my Mac Studio from 2021 with the M1 Max, 32 gigs of RAM, and 512 gigs of SSD. The internal storage on it is obviously super small, being only 512 gigs, but I don't really have to worry about that because I have sitting next to it my OWC Thunderbay 8 48TB hard drive, which has 42 terabytes of usable storage, and the rest is used as a backup in case any of the drives fail. It can kind of rebuild itself. It holds all of the projects that I needed to for the entire year, so I know everything is in one place and I don't have to fumble around and look for different hard drives with specific projects on it. And all of that is connected to this APC battery backup. The point of the battery backup is so that if there is a power outage, it'll keep everything powered so that the computer doesn't just shut off, and that's when you run the risk of all of the bad stuff that you don't want to happen to your computer. It kind of helps mitigate any of those issues, and I highly recommend if you're not using this to pick one up because they're really not that expensive. I wanted to keep everything off the desk and kind of away from the setup, so I grabbed what's called a half apple box and I painted it black and set everything on top of that. I also didn't want to purchase another piece of furniture because I'm not going to be in this space much longer, so I just felt like that was the best way to keep everything down in that corner. Since the computer was so far away from the desk, I needed a way to get some extra ports near me, so I added this CalDigit TS4 Thunderbolt 4 dock just to the left under my desk to give me all the ports that I needed. Moving back up onto the desk, let's talk about everything else that's on here. For speakers, I'm using the Edifier S2000 Pros. I've had these since the beginning of 2021. Still love them. They're super loud. They're great for video editing if I need to listen to crucial audio. They're not studio reference monitors. I say that in every video that I post, but they sound very good and I've been very happy with them. The speakers are sitting on top of these sound isolation pads, which I would highly recommend using if you have big desktop speakers, because it helps get rid of some of the vibrations from the loudspeakers and it just helps with the sound quality. For keyboard and mouse, I'm using the Apple Magic Keyboard and the Logitech MX Master 3. These are sitting on top of a leather desk mat from Orbit Key, another piece that I've had for years, and the quality has really held up over time. Tucked under the monitor is my DaVinci Resolve micro panel. If you're a video editor and you work in DaVinci Resolve, this is just a great tool to have for the coloring side. It's optional for sure, but it definitely helps with some of the micro adjustments and the small fine-tuning portions when you're trying to color an image. Oftentimes when I'm working from home, I take Zoom calls for pre-production meetings for shoots that are coming up, and I recently started using this Insta360 Link, which is Insta360's AI gimbal webcam. I usually throw this on a little tripod whenever I'm doing a meeting, and it really makes the quality of my Zoom call look that much better. Over here to my right is my Shure SM7B microphone. This is what I use for most of my YouTube videos. I'm talking into it right now. And the arm it's on, honestly, I wouldn't recommend. It really stinks. I should have spent more money on a better arm. But the microphone itself sounds incredible. The only other thing I have on this desk is the controller for this BenQ screen bar. You've probably seen a million people with their desk setups with the screen bar at this point. It's just a cool accessory to have. It lights up from the top down onto your setup, so if you're working at night, it's nice to be able to illuminate the keyboard and the mouse. You can use it as a reading light. It has this wireless control so you can control the color temperature of it, the brightness of it, and it also has a backlight, so you can kick on the front light, the backlight only, use them both. And that backlight's just used as kind of a bias ambient lighting to get rid of some of the eye strain that you would have if you're working in a very dark room. But that's everything that I keep on this desk. I wanted to keep it as clean and simple as possible, and that comes with a lot of responsibility because if there's a free space for me to set something on, I'm most likely going to do it, and within a week it's just going to be total clutter. So I have to be intentional about keeping the desk as clean as possible. For the most part, cable management has been much more simple with this setup because I'm only running a monitor and cables for one monitor versus 3. But I just have these cable trays from Vivo paired with a couple adhesive plastic cable racers. So that way I can tuck everything under and kind of hide the mess that I don't want people to see. I don't think I'll ever have the most clean cable managed setup, but I try my best and I think it looks pretty good for what it is. Moving back to the chair, this is the Autonomous Ergo Pro. I've had this for like 3.5 years now. Still a great chair, but I think it's kind of ending its lifespan. I'm definitely planning to upgrade sometime this year. I don't know what I'm going to switch to, but I'm thinking maybe Herman Miller or something like that. But if you have something you would recommend, be sure to throw it in the comments because I would love to get your opinion. Keeping with the electronic side of the setup, let's shift over to the TV real quick. I'm still using the 48-inch LG OLED C1. If you're ever questioning if it's worth getting an OLED versus any other panel, I say if you can afford it, go the OLED route because it just looks so incredible. The TV setup itself has kind of taken a minimal approach too. All I have connected to it is my Apple TV 4K and this 5.1 surround sound bar from Vizio. I would say 99% of my use for this TV is for watching podcasts on YouTube or other YouTube videos, so that's why I kind of stripped away some of the unnecessary stuff that was over there. Since my last home office tour, I also got rid of the couch that I had sitting in this corner. That couch was collecting too much clutter and I really wasn't sitting on it or like lounging on it the way it was meant to be. So I decided to get rid of that and just put the little corner from our couch in the living room that we're not using. It's nice to sit here and work from my laptop, and it also gives me more space to shoot videos in this room. So I figured the best way to use this space is to put that corner of the couch right there in the corner and then place my mini fridge right next to that. If you're a bourbon collector, you'll see this and think, oh, he's got some good bottles. Or if not, you'll probably be very concerned at where I am in life. Let's go back to the desk setup and talk about lighting for a second. The entire room is lit by Philips Hue bulbs, light strips, like all of the things that you can buy through Philips Hue. I probably have it. Behind the desk, I have a long light strip that just runs the entire length of the back. Behind the monitor, I have 2 light bars. Behind my TV, I have another light strip, and then I have a smart bulb in this lamp over here. And everything is powered and connected either through my phone or from this little remote that I have mounted next to my light switch. The only non-Philips Hue thing that I have in here is this light strip from Govee. It was never good as an ambient light, but when I started shooting videos with this wall in the background, I found that throwing a splash of color back there just made the shot a little more interesting, so that's really the only time that I use it now. I've built up some of the decor and accent walls in this space throughout the years, my favorite being this black accent wall where the TV is, and the square acoustic panels that I placed behind it. I really love the way it looks, and it does offer a little bit of soundproofing, but I think it's more so for looks than anything. However, I do behind my desk have these actual foam panels. I know it offers sound dampening as well, but that's not really the intent of why I used it. It's just an added benefit, but I just like the way it adds texture to this room. Like in this space, you can see I have the black wall here, which is just paint, and then back here you can see a little bit of the texture from the foam panels. On the wall to my left here, I have, I guess, these sentimental collectibles. In this picture frame, I have all of the old tour laminates from the past tours and things in music that I've done. If you're new to this channel, I've worked in the music industry as a touring videographer for the past 7 years, so I've gotten to go on some pretty cool tours and work with some very cool artists, and this is just a reflection of all of those kind of periods in my life. And above that, I have a couple old issues of American Cinematographer. Each has a special date that's kind of a representation of my life. One being the month and year that I was born. One is the month and year that I moved to Los Angeles and kind of kickstarted my career as a cinematographer. And this one, well, I was just looking for the oldest issue I could, so there's not really a significance there. Flipping around to the other side of the room, I have this geometric wall shelf. This has been a crowd favorite since 2019 when I first started posting desk setup videos on this channel. Still have it, don't plan on ever getting rid of it. So right now I have a few cool bottles of bourbon, and in the middle here I have this snare from my grandpa. He was a professional studio and touring drummer for years, and so this snare he got when he was a kid, and it went around everywhere with him. He said that the drummer from the Rolling Stones used it back in the day, and like all these crazy stories with this snare, and he gave it to me because I've been drumming since I was 9 years old. To the left of the shelf, I still have this canvas from Iconic, and to the right of this is this tour poster from the Luke Combs Stadium Tour in 2023. I was on this entire tour from April until July of 2023. The promoters of the tour gave us this at the end as a gift, and so I just thought it was a cool piece to put up on the wall here. And that's it. That's the home office for the beginning of 2024. I understand that at this point, the video is probably somewhat repetitive to what I've posted in the past because not everything around here has changed. But I wanted to document the final setup in here, more so for myself because I've been posting these videos since 2019 on here. My entire channel was built around desk setups and office setup tours. With that being said, I'm going to start packing up a lot of the stuff that's in here. I'm not going to be in here much longer. I'm not going to give you too many details quite yet. You could probably figure it out, but I'm very excited with where this channel is going to go in the next year, what I have planned for it. It's going to be everything that people who subscribe to this channel are subscribing for. With all the cheesy stuff out of the way, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in picking up anything that you saw here, I'll have all the links in the description as always. Be sure to like this video, send me a comment, say what's up, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. All of that stuff truly does make a difference for people who are trying to grow a small channel. That's it for me. I will see you all in the next one.